Math 1033, Chapter 6, Section 1. This deals with multiplying and dividing rational expressions. From the 5.7 lesson, we went over the 5 factoring techniques. Now, everything we do in Chapter 6 deals with factoring, so you got to be able to factor. So if we look at example problem 2 here, letter A, you can see that we have 2x squared divided by 10x cubed minus 2x squared. Well, just like in numbers, we can't reduce any rational expression. And remember, rational expression is just a fancy mathematical name for a fraction with variables until we have it in factored form. Now, this is in factored form because this says 2 times x squared. This is not because we have the minus sign. So what happens is we use greatest common factor. When we factor 2x squared out of the bottom, we get 5x minus 1. The 2's cancel, the x squares cancel, and we get 1 over 5x minus 1. You've got to have the 1 on top because the 5x minus 1 is on the bottom. Go to letter B here. Again, factoring. Can't reduce it by greatest common factor. Got 3 terms, so it's a trinomial. Top one factors into 9x plus 4 times x plus 1. Bottom one factors into x minus 7 times x plus 1. The x plus 1's cancel, and we end up with 9x plus 4 over x minus 7. A couple of things you need to make sure you understand. This is example 3. Here we have 2 plus x over x plus 2. You've got to remember that addition and multiplication doesn't matter the order that the terms are in. You can change the order. So what we do here is instead of 2 plus x, we write it as x plus 2. Now we can see we have x plus 2 over x plus 2, which gives us a positive 1. This one right here, notice that we have a positive 2 on the top and negative 2 on the bottom. Negative x on the top, positive x on the bottom. They're opposites. So if we were to factor out a negative 1 out of here, we would get negative times x minus 2. They just have to be of opposite sign. Then the x minus 2 over x minus 2 cancels, and we get a negative 1. Going to example 4, remember the hardest part of these problems is the factoring. So what happens in example 4 is, first of all, I'm going to factor 2 out at the top. The bottom's a trinomial, we factor as x minus 3 times x plus 1. Now, this is the same situation that we had up here. So what we're going to do is factor out a negative 1, and now this becomes negative 2 times x squared minus 9, which is difference of squares. So all we did was factor out a negative here. And we could have factored out a negative 2 here, and it would work just the same. Difference of squares factors into x plus 3 over x minus 3. The x minus 3's cancel. We end up with negative 2 times x plus 3 over x plus 1. All right. Okay, now we come to multiplication. Multiplication is done the same way. What we're going to do is we're going to look to see what we can factor. Once we factor it, then we're going to look to see what we can cancel out. This is a difference of cubes, which factors into x minus 1 times x squared plus x plus 1. Remember your formula for difference of cubes or sum of cubes. This we're going to factor out a negative 3, and we get an x minus 1. Notice this 15 I changed to 3 times 5, which is still 15. And this x squared plus x plus 1 doesn't cancel. Or it can't be factored. So what happens here is the x minus 1 and the x minus 1 here, gone. Give me 1. X squared plus x plus 1, x squared plus x plus 1 here, gone. These 3's cancel. We have 5x squared on the top, minus 1 on the bottom, which gives us minus negative 5x squared. Go to example 7b, and this is a division problem. Well, just like with numbers, we really don't divide fractions or rational expressions. What we do is multiply by the reciprocal. So that's the first thing you should do on any division problem. Here's the problem right here. This is B, letter B in example 7. First thing I do is take these two and flip them and change it to a multiplication problem. All I have to do is factor this trinomial, this trinomial, this trinomial, and this trinomial. Then I look. I got a 6y minus 1 on top, 6y minus 1 on the bottom. gone. 4y minus 1 on top, 4y minus 1 on the bottom, gone. 3y plus 2 on top, 3y plus 2 on the bottom, gone. Got to remember, anything divided by itself is 1. So we're left with 2y plus 5 over y plus 5. So see, the hardest part of these problems is the factoring. You got to know those 5 factoring techniques. Last one I want to go over is example 8 here in the book. This is on page 349. And see, this is a combination. Here you have multiplication, here you have division. So the first thing we need to do is to change this to multiplication by writing the reciprocal of this, which is what they do right here. Okay? Then this is a difference of squares, which factors into x plus 5 times x minus 5. Here we factor out a 3, so we've got 3 times x plus 5. This is a trinomial that factors into x minus 5 times x plus 2. So now what happens is we have an x minus 5 on the bottom, x minus 5 on top, gone. X and x, gone. X plus 5 here, gone. X plus 5 here, gone. And so what we have left is a 3 that's over 4 times this x plus 2. We're done. So see again, once you set the problem up, remember to change the division to a multiplication. Then you factor. Then all you do is look to see if you got the same thing on the top of the bottom as the bottom, and you cancel it out. That's division and multiplication of rational expressions.